Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
And welcome back to the show. We are excited to have Scott Spiers, Julie Robertson joining us here once again. We have our friends here. We're talking about life coaching and all that they do. They're based out of Apex, North Carolina, but can work with you anywhere around the world. Welcome to the show, our Kintsugilifecoaches. How's it going today, folks?
It's great. Going great. How was your holiday?
Oh, it was good. Boys and I got to go away to Nashville for a few days, but everyone got sick. But how was yours?
Yeah, it was great. Some great quality time at home, not doing too much, but getting the Christmas tree up was an event.
Oh, congrats. That's a big feat. That's good. Oh,
we
good
actually got it up before Thanksgiving.
Oh,
so
my.
I think we had it up.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
gosh. Wow. Well, thank you so much for being here again. Would you mind introducing yourself? I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm Julie Robertson.
And I'm Scott Spiers. Together, we're Kintsugilifecoaches. Like you said, we're a life coaching company based out of Apex, North Carolina, but we're certified. We can practice pretty much worldwide.
Yeah.
Great. And your website and contact information to start?
You can reach us at kcoaches.com. You can also find us on Facebook and Instagram under Kintsugilifecoaches.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for being here today. As far as the work you do, clearly as coaches, I'm not sure yet what our topic is for the day, so surprise me.
Yeah. So last week we talked a little bit about loneliness and solitude and what's the difference between those, and how do you identify loneliness versus depression. So this week we just like to talk a little bit more about like how do we get rid of those thoughts, and what are some things that we can do to kind of get out of loneliness at the holidays.
That's very true, because a lot of us do have loneliness around this time. So thank you. I'm here for up for the conversation, and I hope our listeners are too. I think it's going to hit home to a lot of us today.
Great.
So most of the time, it's like we just get stuck in a rut, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when we're stuck in a rut, usually we're caring more about how we're feeling and not paying so much attention to how we're feeling. So like yesterday, I had to fight like heck to get out of bed. I didn't want to get going. I love my job, but I didn't want to do it. And my internal dialogue was, ooh, I'm too busy. Oh, I have too much stuff going on. So we've learned to pay attention to our thoughts and kind of start talking to ourselves a little bit differently. And that's what we can do as life coaches, is just simply work with people on what they're thinking, how they're approaching things. And it's kind of cool how just a couple little adjustments can get you. Like this morning, I was like, woohoo, I can't wait to get to work. Then we had to drop the kid off, and that was insane.
How old?
School drop-off line is always amazing on a rainy Tuesday morning. So.
Yeah, she's 15, and the high school is about 2,800 people. And I swear there were 3,700 cars.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
But I was so excited today because I knew we had the podcast. We were going to talk to you again. So just looking at my self-talk was enough to get me going. That and a really good cup of coffee.
Beautiful. I'm with you on that. I'm empty here.
Oh no. Start over.
I know. And I'm empty. I got a little water left. I'll have some of that while we begin. All right. So let's start the conversation. Yeah, go for it.
So it like Scott said, it's really your inner dialogue, your self-talk can be the main cause of like some shame, some sadness. Right. And so what we are thinking about with you and our listeners is as you start to journal, those thoughts are kind of flying through your head, maybe a lot of times with no filter. So what you should do is really start to try to think about those, right? Try to catch those negative thoughts and write them down. And a lot of times what you're saying to yourself are things that you would never say to another person, right? I would never say those things to my mom or to my best friend, but yet those are the things that I'm saying about myself in my head. And a lot of times they kind of tear down our self-worth, our feelings of self-love.
Absolutely.
And that can kind of start to isolate us, right? We kind of pull inward and we don't share as much. And that can be a lot of times why we start to feel so alone.
And we like to catch good times to catch those thoughts. Like the first thing, it might be a little rough because, I just woke up, but taking a shower is a great time to calm down. You've got the water coming over you. You can kind of slow down, pay attention to what your thinking is, and then start readjusting there.
Yeah. And a lot of times at the end of your day too, when you're kind of evaluating your day, a lot of times you might be saying, gosh, I wish I had done that differently, or I shouldn't have done that or said that. Right. So you can start to catch those things usually at those key points of your day. And if you start writing those things down, right, then that way you can start to kind of change those thoughts, change your thinking, and really start to change.
This is the shift thinking.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like the self-talk.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
You confront yourself. You learn how to challenge yourself. And we'll get to that in a little bit, some of the cognitive distortions that we have. But if you do this, I'd say daily or at least a couple of times a week, you can kind of start seeing the patterns. And then you can go, well, is it really that bad? Or do I just think it's that bad? And the way we like to do it is we're trying to coach people so that they don't need to have a coach at some point. Our end game is they're doing all of this on their own. We just gave them a little support to get them going.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the thinking traps, because that's a lot of times what people fall into is thinking traps, right? And you've got some ideas on some main ones there from your counseling days that you can share.
So they're called cognitive distortions. And if you've read any self-help books, Jill, I'm sure you've come across them, like all or nothing thinking. Oh, if I don't do this absolutely perfectly, I'm failing. If I don't get the highest score in class, then I'm a failure. If I don't get into the exact school I want to get to, I'm a failure. So it's like everything is black and white. It's either really good or it's really bad. And that's one of the first cognitive distortions that we can kind of figure out. And it's also kind of the easiest to kind of make the most fun of. So you can go, oh, really? It doesn't seem realistic. So a lot of times people are on diets. This time of year might not be the best time to talk about it. But let's say that instead of losing 1 pound, they only lost like 5 ounces. All or nothing thinking keeps you from celebrating the fact, hey, you lost 5 ounces. So that's one of the first things that I want to watch out for. The other one is a definite relationship killer, which is mind reading. That's where you immediately assume that someone is thinking something, especially if it's going to be negative towards you. So like right now, I can be thinking, oh my God, Julie is so bored. She doesn't want to hear this, and she's going to be mad at me after. So I'm trying to figure out and put how I'm feeling on the inside into the mind of another person, which is a recipe for just relationship disaster.
Yeah. And we do this at work a lot of times, right? Where maybe we go in for an interview and we think, oh, I'm not going to get it, right? Because I'm at the lowest level on the totem pole, and there's people who are better than me interviewing. So I'm not going to get it. So it's really, that really becomes like the mind reading, right? I'm interpreting or jumping to conclusions based upon my experiences or things that people are saying, when that may be absolutely not true, right? So that's one of the traps that a lot of times we get into, especially it's like, oh, I'm not good enough, or people don't like me, right? And you're really trying to read people's minds without knowing how they might really feel.
Wow. It's like a superpower.
Right.
Well, the real superpower is the last one. It's where you're fortune telling, so you can predict the future. Oh, I'm not going to pass the exam. Oh, I'm not going to get that promotion. Oh, she's not going to say yes when I ask her out for dinner. So it's like you take your own feelings of self-worth, and then you project negative outcomes. I think a lot of times we do that to protect ourselves, so that instead of somebody rejecting us or somebody telling us no, we can head them off at the pass real quick, so that we don't have to feel the external disappointment. There's a whole bunch of other ones, but they kind of bleed into each other. But we could talk for probably 2 or 3 podcasts on the distortions, but let's not do that. I'll do some mind reading here. I'm not sure the audience would really be into that too much.
Right.
But those are some pretty basic things that we can look out for. And they're also some of the easiest to correct.
And then there's some small things that you can actually start to do about it, right? So like we've talked a lot about trying to catch it. We've talked a lot about the thinking traps, but like what can we do about loneliness at the holidays, right? So there's some small practices that you can start with. that will kind of get you started on the path to recognizing how to get out of your patterns. One is really mindfulness. So a mindfulness practice, right? You can Google mindfulness. There's all kinds of mindfulness, courses, information on the internet. But really what it is, it's focusing on the thing that you're doing right now, right? I'm not living in the past or thinking about my past and things that have happened to me. And I'm not trying to project myself into the future and trying to anticipate or fortune tell things that are going on in the future. I'm trying to live right now and appreciate things like the sun on my face, watching a movie with my teenager, things like that. So that's one of the ways that you can kind of get started as a small practice. The second one being like positive affirmations. And so I don't know if you've ever seen the video of the little girl in front of the mirror. She's got the big blonde hair and she's going, yeah, I'm great and everybody loves me, right?
No, I haven't.
Is it? Oh, you'll have to
Google what is it under? I want to find it.
Yeah, she's got a positive affirmation going on there and it's super cute. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not so big on the positive affirmation thing.
Well, I make my 5 and 7-year-old go in front of the mirror. The 7-year-old has a hard time with it. The 5-year-old, I am beautiful. I am awesome. I'm special. And you're a little shy. And I'm like, no, look in the mirror and say, I'm beautiful. I'm beautiful. To try to reaffirm that type of, I think it's good for self-confidence.
Yes,
it's good, but for me, it feels a little goofy. I know.
Well, I do it to the boys. I guess that's why for us, I think it's girls, but whatever, boys, girls.
Yeah.
But it always reminds me of the Stuart Smalley character on Saturday Night Live when he's going, I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and gosh darn it, people like me. But you really like the affirmations, right?
I do, because a lot of times, I mean, if you think about athletes pump themselves up all of the time before they go into a big game, right? They think they are the best at what they do. They are definitely going to win the game. And I think of myself, I don't necessarily get in front of the mirror and say, oh, I'm the best person ever, right? But I get in the front of the mirror and I say, I'm an athlete, and an athlete trains like I train, right? Mm-hmm. An athlete treats their body with, the best foods, right? To keep themselves on track. So I use affirmations more in that way to kind of get myself thinking about what it is that I need to do in order to make myself the best that I can be.
Okay, that makes a little bit of sense, because I don't know if I'm looking in the mirror going, "Ooh, I am, I'm really good" and all that. But now that you mentioned the athlete part of it, that does make a little bit of sense. I know there was a wrestler, Bret Hart, and he used to say, "I'm the best there is, the best there was, best there." And I'll admit, on occasion, I've used that to kind of get over the fear. And so I hadn't really thought about that before.
Yeah. And like Jill said, it's really great for kids and teenagers, right? To try to boost their confidence. And they are kind of shy at first, but the more they do it, you can see their confidence grow and you can see them start to believe it. So it's really important. The other thing is just setting goals for the future, right? So looking forward can help your mindset feel like you have a purpose and you're kind of on a path and do something that you need to do. So that also kind of helps you feel like you're moving, right? You're not stuck.
I like the idea of goals, but honestly, I've kind of struggled with the goal setting. I've learned that if I'm not careful, like if I set the goal that's too high or it's unrealistic, I can just end up getting frustrated. And that can feed into the all or nothing thinking. So I've had to learn with the goals to really, really break them down. One of the guys I've been reading, his name's James Clear. And he has the book Atomic Habits. I don't know if you've heard of that. But what he talks about is trying to do 1% better each day. So he's got this wonderful story about a guy who was about 300 pounds overweight, who simply went to the gym every day, but he never went into the gym. And that sounds ridiculous. Mm-hmm. But what he was doing was he was becoming a guy that goes to the gym every day. So that when he started going into the gym, it was natural. I've been doing that myself lately. I'm getting on the elliptical. I'm not allowed to do it more than 1 minute a day. And then every day I add 10 seconds to the routine. So it is possible. So for me, goals have always, like when we first started the business, it was a little disappointing. But now that I'm looking at smaller goals and celebrating the smaller victories, the more they meet. And I think with loneliness, we're always looking for the best friend. We're looking for the replacement for the family. Sometimes an acquaintance is just fine. I think you just
True.
wrote a blog post on that.
Yeah. We talked about your inner circle, right? On my last blog post. And it's like, who are the people that are closest to you that are going to push you? Right. And then you kind of go out from there. So you need to really look at who is in your inner circle. Who are you, who's your biggest cheerleader? If they're not there to help push you forward and get you out of your comfort zone, then maybe they aren't the person that you need in your inner circle. So a lot more on that on the blog that you can read. The next one's kind of make a schedule, right? So sometimes having that routine will help you feel like you're, again, moving forward, making plans with friends, right? With your kids are gone for the weekend with your ex, then, giving yourself kind of a schedule to keep to can kind of help you feel less alone during the weekend if you're by yourself. Another one is self-care. That is so important, right? Taking a shower, just getting enough sleep. If you're not changing your clothes, not taking a shower, it can start to make you feel really depressed. And that isn't what you want, right? You want something that's kind of helping you get up and out. And even if it's just taking that shower, it can always make you feel better.
And by the way, a lot of people might be thinking right now, what in the world does this kind of stuff have to do with loneliness? And what we've learned, especially working with our clients, is when you feel better about yourself, it's a lot easier to talk to strangers. It's a lot easier to do different things. So doing the self-care, watching, be your best self when you're with yourself. It makes it easier, and you make better decisions on what friends and what relationships you choose to pursue.
Right. The other thing is really just practicing gratitude, being grateful for all the stuff that you do have and the friends that you have and your family and your kids, right? Can really help you start to appreciate where you are, understand that you might need to move forward. You might need to make some changes to your life, but just being grateful for what you have. It's hard to be upset whenever you start to practice gratitude on a regular basis. So that's another good one.
Yeah. How about with the month of giving? I mean, gratitude in general. It's one thing we did talk about on Thanksgiving. We go around the table and it was just me and the kids at that, but still, what are you grateful for? What are you thankful for? Trying to teach them how to be grateful for things. And like, I just started just a random thought, but taking their old clothes and, getting rid of them. They're outgrown. And I said, I got goosebumps. We're putting old stuffed animals in bags the other night. And I said, what we're going to do, we're going to go through the rest of the stuff, all the warm stuff, and we're going to bring it to the shelter. My little one who's 5, what's a shelter? I'm like, he's in kindergarten. I'm like, some kids in your school, I know for a fact they get bused there from a shelter. He didn't know. And I'm like, they don't have a home to live in by themselves. They have a home with a lot of people. They share a bathroom. They don't have a bedroom. They don't have, really, like, shocked. And I'm like, my other one knows, but I'm like, let's gather everything together. Let's be grateful what we have and thankful. And let's get all the warm stuff we don't need anymore. 2T, 3T, 4T clothes. Let's bring it. So we're going to do that the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, that is such a great thing to do to help clean out your closet, right? But then really to give to somebody else who is definitely in need.
And I called them. I said, I just want my kids to actually go there and actually see it. And they're like, as long as it's not school hours, if you want to take them out during school so they could see, because you can't chance a child seeing a child that's in their class, God forbid, because all communities have shelters. And don't care where you live or where you think, they do. And I know specifically there's some kids that are bussed in for that. And I said, I want them to see, and maybe they can leave and appreciate. Wow, Mom, we have a house. We have clothing. Wow. And to see it is not just put it in a bag and I'll go take it. I want to walk them there and I want to show them what it is, because I just think that's important. Thank you for letting me talk. Okay,
I love that. In
back to you guys.
Can we steal that? I mean, that's one.
I think it's a good idea for every family out there. Anyone that's listening, why not? You can call your local shelter like I did. And I asked, and the woman says, as long as you bring the kids during off school hours, why not teach them?
We have 2 bags of clothes right now.
Right.
And then we're also sorting through our stuff. That's a fantastic idea. And it's something my mind is going.
Yeah.
Not only that, but you're going to meet people. And you could possibly volunteer at the shelter. And you're establishing that human connection. So Jill, if you need a job,
thanks, no problem.
That's why I like having conversations like this, because we're all learning this stuff together. One warning I'd like to put out there for folks, especially this time of year, is you want to be real careful replacing loneliness, those feelings of loneliness, with, I don't know, pecan pie, pumpkin pie, chocolate ice cream, alcohol, and other drugs, because those can be really quick fixes. It's like, after I have a couple drinks, I feel great. Now, just because someone does that doesn't mean they have an issue, but it's probably better in the long run to actually work through the feelings rather than trying to find those quick fix things. I would even throw video games in there that, you know, when you're occupied with a video game, you kind of lose the loneliness, but you don't want to be doing things that are going to cut you off. And you especially do not want to be grabbing a beer or a glass of wine and going for a drive, especially this time of year. So please don't drink and drive. Remember, all of your loved ones are out there on the road.
Yeah. Oh, beautiful. Thank you for sharing that.
Yep. All right. So some very tactical things, right, that people can take away. Tactical things that I can do this week, next week, tomorrow, if I want, right, to kind of get me through the holidays, right? First one is, especially if you're feeling a lot of anxiety, right, maybe pick something that's off this list that's really easy, right, where it's like everybody comes, everybody's accepted. And so you won't feel like, is somebody going to judge me? Am I going to get turned away? So pick something off the list that's really easy to do, and you can just start to connect. The first one would be volunteer work, like we just talked about, working at the shelter, on some kind of group project like Habitat for Humanity or the Wounded Warrior Project. There's so many great charities out there who need help, who need volunteers, especially after COVID, right? A lot of people haven't been able to help. And so they definitely always need people to volunteer, and it will make you feel better that you're helping other people out. Similarly, right, being in your community or in your religious events, that's another great way to be part of a group, helping others, and really things like Rotary, Lions Club, some of those local places, or your church, right? Great ways to get involved in something that can help you feel like you are making a difference in people's lives. The other thing is really the use of technology to your advantage. So this one can go both ways. If you are, some may say, like, if you cut back on your social media because you are using that to isolate yourself and you're watching Netflix, right, instead of getting out, maybe you should stop using social media. However, I would say my kid uses social media to their advantage. So a lot of times when I've talked with my teenagers about, like, hey, are you feeling lonely? What do you do about it when you're feeling that way? They say, well, I log on to Discord, right? And I log on to a chat with my friends, right? And they may know I don't want to say anything, but I can just be there and feel like I'm part of that group and still feel like I'm not alone. So that's one way that they're using social media to kind of help themselves.
And on Facebook, I belong to I enjoy science fiction and fantasy. My favorite author happens to be from Raleigh. He's doing a book signing on December 13th. So with social media, I talk to other people, and we went to one, I think it was about 6 months ago. I already knew half the people there. I hadn't actually met them, but I knew them. And it was like instant connection. So yeah. I know we say that Facebook and social media is kind of the not a good thing. That's not true. Anything can be really good when used in moderation. It's just a tool like anything else.
Yeah.
And especially in the era of COVID and everything else, I can't think of a better way to meet people.
Yeah. That's really true.
I feel like we're running out of time soon.
We are. You're so smart. Yeah, we are. Just like 3 more minutes. We got it. We got this.
Next one would be like maybe join a gym or, take a class. So if you take a class, you're with people, you can feel like you're moving forward towards a goal. Or if you go to the gym, right, exercise, always a great way to help you feel better. And you can meet other people at the gym. And a lot of times, if you're a single mom, they have childcare, so that gives you a break. And it's a great way for you to get out for an hour, have a break, and actually feel better once you're done.
And the kids can meet other kids, and then you can. So just, the big thing is be good to yourself, say good things about yourself, take a shower, and go out and take a chance. Coffee shop, get a good. By the way, Jill, you do probably need a cup of coffee. So
yeah.
Hey, this was so much fun.
Thank you. You guys are awesome. And by the way, you know, I got the notes like sent to me right away, but I didn't need them because you guys are just on a roll. There's really nothing for me to say. I mean, you guys need your own show. I appreciate you being here on our podcast, but you guys are good. You guys
really
got
enjoyed
it. The dynamic duo, really. All right. Remind us how we can all reach out to you and start the process of working with you.
Yeah, so you can go to our website, kcoaches.com. We have a free 30-minute coaching session that you can try us out and see how we can help you. You can also reach us on Facebook and Instagram at Kintsugilifecoaches. I was going to say .com, but it's not .com on Facebook.
I know. But anyway, kcoaches.com. And we really look forward to hearing from everybody.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Have a fantastic day. To all of our listeners and viewers, thank you for being here and looking forward to the next time we meet again. Have a great day. Thank you. Bye, guys.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.